A long, long time ago, in the beautiful city of Lagos, there lived a young girl named Tolani. Tolani was a sharp, confident woman in her late 20s, living alone in a small but neat apartment in Ikeja. She worked as a secretary in a busy law firm where everyone loved her for her kindness and contagious laugh. But if you asked her about love, she will give you this tired look and say, "Ah, that one is a long story, I beg, just leave the matter." But there was one thing about Tola. She had a special talent. She could attract men like bees. But the issue was that once she let them taste the honey, they vanish quicker than free jollof rice in a Yoruba party. Family pressure was her constant background music. And let me tell you, it was loud. Every Sunday at church, Tola heard the same chorus. "So Tola, when will you marry? Your time is running out. Oh. All your sisters are married and you're still here collecting single title like a trophy." Auntie Bisi told her at a cousin's Owambe that they went for. Tola wanted to scream, "Leave me the hell alone." But instead, she smiled politely and said, "I'm working on it, ma." Her love life was a roller coaster with all the pick and drop men were doing with her emotions. There was Mike, who seemed like a perfect gentleman until he ghosted her after their first night together. In fact, his last message to her was, "I think I left my wallet at home. Let me go quickly do POS outside." That was 3 months ago when he dumped her on a date without bothering to even pay the bills. That was one of the most embarrassing moments in her dating life. Even when she thought Samuel, the banker, was different because he called every day, sent flowers, and even introduced her to his mother. But after one romantic weekend of him having his way with her, he disappeared like Nigerian electricity whenever rain fell. Tolani was left wondering if she was cursed or if Lagos men just liked collecting hearts and tossing them away like trash. One day at work, her best friend Bimbo noticed she was oddly quiet and sad and decided to ask her what the problem was. "Tolani Adebayo, fine girl. This one you squeeze face like amala wey no done. What's up now?" "Honestly, Bimbo, I'm starting to think men treat me like a rental apartment. Nice for a night, then they move out without notice," Tola said sadly. Bimbo laughed, nearly choking on her own spit. "At least you get to enjoy the rent. Me, I'm still on the waiting list." Tolani shook her head and said, "It's just frustrating. I want a man who will stick around, not one who treats me like a side hustle, you know?" "Well, if you're interested, I recently heard of something that truly works. It is worth trying though." What's that, abeg? Spill, Joe," Tola asked her to talk fast. "Have you heard of those Kayamata waist beads? I heard they make men go crazy. Do anything you want. In fact, turn them into mumu for you. You literally be pressing any button you want," Bimbo said. Tola looked at her. Wait. You mean those magic beads that turn women into men magnets overnight?" Bam. They say if you wear it right, men will start throwing money and attention your way like it's Black Friday. Tola laughed. "Sounds like a Nigerian fairy tale to me, oh." But Bimbo assured her that it worked and it was worth trying. Later that night, as Tola was scrolling on Instagram, relaxing and chilling from the day's work, she paused at an ad. "Want to keep your man forever? Kayamata beads are your secret weapon. Attract him, make him spend, and never let him go." Her phone screen practically glowed. The testimonies were wild. Men calling, money coming, relationships thriving, and all that good stuff. But then she stops for a minute. What if it's a scam? What if I end up looking ridiculous? What are the side effects? But then, what if this is the one thing that actually works? Her phone dinged with a message from her mother. Tola, when will I have my grandkids? Your sisters are already planning their baby showers. Tola rolled her eyes and said, Okay, universe, I hear you. This was her sign to quickly order for one before her mother would send her to another prayer house for deliverance. She finally placed the order. The package promised 100% authentic Kayamata waist beads infused with powerful love energy. So 2 days later, a small box arrived at her door. She pulled out the colorful beads, bright reds, yellow, green. They smelled of something earthy and mysterious. So she smiled nervously and said, Here goes nothing. That very night, Tola put on the beads just before she went to bed. But as she slept, something strange started happening. Her dreams turned wild. She dreamt she was at a party surrounded by men throwing money like confetti. One man, a tall, handsome stranger, winked at her and said, You are mine. Tola woke up, heart pounding. It didn't stop there. As she laid back down to sleep, she saw men turning into chickens, chasing her around Lagos markets, squawking loudly. Her beads glowed and tightened around her waist like a snake was squeezing her. She hurriedly woke up, knocking down her bedside lamp. Okay, Kayamata beads, slow down. Slow down with the weird dreams, please, she said, panting. The next morning, she dragged herself to work, still shaky from the night. At the office, she tried to focus, but her thoughts kept drifting to the strange dreams she had last night. She went to Bimbo's table to complain to her, but Bimbo told her that it was all part of it. No pain, no gain, right? That afternoon, a tall, sharply dressed man approached her desk. Good morning, Tola. I'm Mr. Ade, a new customer here. I've heard great things about your work. Tola blinked, surprised. Thank you, sir, she said, trying to keep her cool. Mr. Ade smiled and said, I was wondering if you'd like to join me for lunch today. Tola's heart skipped a beat. Was it the beads? She nodded quickly. Okay, sure. As Mr. Ade walked away, Tola grinned from ear to ear, happy that the beads are finally working. Maybe this Kayamata thing isn't bad after all, she said to herself. On the same Lagos island, there was another lady struggling with keeping men as well. Fumi. She was a kind of woman who looked like a model. She was tall, slim, with a smile that could light up a power outage in Lagos. But there was one problem though. Men didn't seem to notice her the way she wanted. Her family, on the other hand, were the ones that noticed her a lot. For me, you're looking all skinny like a fashion model. Now wow, are you eating at all? Men don't like skinny girls, oh, let me tell you, her auntie would say, wagging her fingers like a strict primary school teacher. Your sisters are all married with kids, and you're walking around single like Lagos NEPA poles. Another of her auntie added, laughing so hard at her dry jokes. Fumi would smile politely, but inside she was boiling. She wanted to give all of them a resounding slap and reset their brains, but she knew better than to bring drama to family dinners. Fumi's love life was like Lagos traffic. It was chaotic and frustrating. She went on dates that felt like job interviews. One date with a guy named Tunde lasted exactly 17 minutes because he spent the whole time talking about his ex. Another time she met Chooks, who kept checking his phone under the table. And when she asked, Who's texting you? He laughed and said, Oh, it's my mom. But Fumi knew better. So one day, She visited her close sister and was lamenting. Kiki, I swear, if men wanted just a pretty face, I would have 50 suitors by now. Kiki laughed. Maybe men just want to keep us guessing. Who knows? Then one day, Fumi had a moment of brutal honesty with herself. She stood in front of her mirror, staring at her slim frame and said, maybe they want curves. I need curves like Cardi B's own, not this thick broom figure I have. She had a deep thought about it and decided that, she needed to get a BBL. Yes, a Brazilian butt lift. So she went online to research and read more about BBL. Next, she started saving, selling clothes she never wore before, and even borrowed money from her sister Kiki. Finally, she booked the surgery. On the day of the surgery, Fumi was a nervous mess, but she was excited too. She joked with the nurse to ease her tension. Make sure you give me the Cardi B package, oh. I want them to say, who is this babe whenever I walk into a room? The nurse laughed. No issues at all. You're going to love it. Weeks later, Fumi was slowly recovering. The swelling made her look like she had been to a boxing match with a mosquito swarm. But soon after, she already started to notice heads turning when she walked down the street. One day, she caught a man staring at her like a rare bird in a zoo. But that attention wasn't the kind she wanted. Another night, a man called Emeka invited her to a bar in the name of business meeting. Well, the meeting turned into endless drinks and plenty bad decisions. Fumi left that day feeling more used than her old phone charger. To top it off, Fumi started noticing something very unusual. Her Instagram inbox was filling up faster than she could keep up. Every morning, she would unlock her phone and see dozens of new messages from strangers who seemed to think that she was the only woman on earth. It was one message after another. Hello, beautiful. Your pictures just made my day brighter. How about we meet and make each other's days even better? Ha! Another one said, I can take you anywhere you want. Paris, Dubai, New York. Just say the word and it's yours. Fumi stared at her screen and said, Paris, come. Abeg, shut up. You can't even afford a cab ride to the market. The messages kept coming. They were getting more ridiculous by the minute. One man that called himself King David wrote, your beauty is like the sun, impossible to ignore. Let me be the moon to your sky. Fumi laughed aloud. Another guy sent a video of himself flexing, topless, and captioned it, this body is for you, baby, no one else. Fumi hissed so loudly and said, what kind of men are these? The kind of men coming to her were not the type she anticipated. So, she was not fulfilled. She knew that not every admirer was serious. In fact, all of them were very unserious. They were just drawn to her curves and her hips. Fumi's frustration was growing by the day. It wasn't just the crazy messages flooding her Instagram. It was the men that also stopped her on the streets. One afternoon while walking home, a young man practically jumped out from a fruit stand shouting, hey beautiful, please give me your number. You are just my type. Fumi froze, giving him a glare that could have melted steel. And then she marched off, feeling very embarrassed. This is getting ridiculous, Fumi said to herself, feeling very frustrated. So one humid evening, she stopped at a restaurant to grab some fried plantain and jollof rice. As she walked in, her purse fell from her bag and she barely noticed. But another lady who saw it picked it up and returned it back to her. It was Tolani. Tolani smiled as she gave it back to her. You dropped this. Fumi took the purse, smiling broadly and very thankful. You look gorgeous, by the way. Your shape is very beautiful. Tolani complimented her. Fumi blushed a little and said, Thanks, but this body, I've seen things, sha. What do you mean? You look amazing, Tolani told her. Fumi took a deep breath, and before you know it, they were already gisting like they have been besties for years. I had a surgery recently to get these curves, but instead of attracting good men, I'm getting nonsense, irresponsible men sending me crazy DMs, harassing me on the streets, you name it. The embarrassment is endless. I keep attracting every other thing but the real men I desire. Tolani nodded knowingly. I get it. I've been through something very similar. The men come, but they aren't the ones you want. Fumi shouted, exactly. I just want to find a good man that will take me seriously. Is that too much to ask for? Soon, their meals arrived, and as they ate, they kept gisting. You know, I started using something called Kayamata beads. Fumi tilted her head, very curious to hear what Tolani was talking about. So, Tolani explained further. It's supposed to help you keep a man interested. It's supposed to make him spend madly on you. See, real men are finally noticing me. Men who don't ghost me after intimacy. Look, I am not even joking. My man stays glued to me. He does everything I ask and even more. He spends on me like crazy. Life is sweet. Fumi's eyes widened. Wait, oh, you mean men who actually stay? Like real responsible men that are serious? Tolani nodded. Yes, but I won't lie, oh, the beads, they come with their own problems, sha. Side effects that make me wonder if it is worth it sometimes. But you have to weigh now. You have to weigh the cons and the pros and decide for yourself. Fumi looked intrigued. Tell me everything. As they sat eating, the two women found comfort in knowing that they weren't alone. They were on different paths, but they were fighting the same battle. And just like that, their stories began to intertwine. When Fumi got home, she crossed her legs on her living room parlor, laptop balanced on her knees, and a half-eaten plate of chin-chin behind her. She had one mission, and that was to find out if Kayamata beads were her golden ticket or they were just another Nigerian scam. She typed into Google, Kayamata beads. Do they work? Okay, this could be the answer, but what if it's like that time I tried miracle hair growth oil and ended up smelling like palm wine for a week? She started her research, scrolling through the pages filled with testimonials. One review read, I wore the beads and my boyfriend called every day. He sent me flowers and even cooked for me. 10 over 10 minus nothing. I recommend. Fumi whispered, wow, a boyfriend that cooks. Sign me up. But then as she read on, she began to saw the side effects. Mood swings, unexplained cravings, vaginal itching, vaginal discharge due to infection, burning sensation, and excessive bleeding after delivery. Fumi went ahead to make a pros and cons list. She weighed them and decided the pros were higher. She also came across the one that you're supposed to put in your body, that one was proven to keep the men locked in. It was called Magical Sweetener. So, with trembling hands, she pulled up the Kayamata website. It was colorful, full of happy women and all that. She added to her cart, and then she added the sweetener as well. She then relaxed and said, I'm officially a Kayamata woman now. Watch out, Lagos. Fumi is coming for all the good men, and this time they can't run. Well, initially, she didn't experience any side effects, and she was very happy. Little did she know that her new adventure was just beginning. Fumi didn't know it yet, but the moment Shegun smiled at her in that crowded mall, her life was about to change. At first, it seemed like a breath of fresh air. A man who actually noticed her, who listened and made her laugh. She thought, maybe this time things will be different. Their first few dates were easy and fun. Shegun was very charming, always offering to pay and insisting on making sure she never worried about the bills. He paid her rent, took her shopping, and covered everything. In fact, he threw money on her like it was nothing. And just when Fumi thought that everything was going well, the side effects of the Kayamata came, knocking on her door. It started with strange dreams as well, but it didn't end there. The magic sweetener started causing her to itch. It was a full-blown infection. One minute she's okay, working. The next minute, she would rush into the bathroom, looking for privacy to itch properly. After work one day, she went into the pharmacy to get some drugs. But before she could finish explaining the symptoms, the itch was back with fire and brimstone. She felt very embarrassed. Hey, Jehovah Jireh, who sent me message? Oh, I'm dying. But he didn't stop there. There came love bombing and possessiveness from her boyfriend Shegun. Where are you? Who are you with? Why didn't you answer my call? Who are you texting? Why are you talking with another man? It was one thing after the other. Shegun was spending on her, yes, but he was too possessive and jealous. One day, out of anger, because he saw a random text on her phone, he slapped her twice, accusing her of cheating. Fumi literally went from frying pan to fire in her journey to finding love. That day, when she got home, she quickly trashed the stupid sweetener and the waist beads. Haba, I no do again abeg. It's someone that is alive that can keep a man. Oh. Fumi rarely smiled anymore. She started questioning her life decisions. The man who once made her feel special now felt like karma. One day, as she sat thinking to herself, God, what have I gotten myself into? I don't want to be anyone's possession. This is not what I asked for when I wished for a real man. Oh. So, to keep herself occupied and not to think too much, she opened her Instagram and started scrolling mindlessly. Then suddenly, a page caught her eye. Kemi's relationship coaching, with posts about setting boundaries, attracting the right men for you, and keeping your power in relationships. With a curious mind, Fumi clicked through the stories and posts. One post stood out for her. Men come easy when your energy is strong and your boundaries are clear. When you focus on yourself and become selfish towards becoming your own person and focusing on your goals. Then suddenly, she stopped when she saw the CEO of the page. Her heart skipped a bit. Wait oh, I know her. Is that not Kemi? Kemi that I went to school together with. Wow, she has done so well for herself. Man, I need to reach out to her. So she sent Kemi a message. And Kemi replied quickly. After exchanging pleasantries, they set a meeting place to meet up and catch up as old friends. On the day of the meeting, Fumi arrived at the cozy little cafe right on time. She sighted Kemi immediately, sitting at a small table, sipping her tea and scrolling on her phone. She noticed that Kemi looked just like she remembered. Confident, calm, and carrying an energy that filled the room. They stood up and hugged each other tightly. Fumi, it's so good to see you. You look great, honestly. See sheep, Kemi said, pulling out a chair for her. Fumi laughed. Thanks, oh, but honestly, I've been better. It's a long story, Sha. Part of why I wanted to see you so badly. Kemi nodded slowly and said, I'm here to listen there. No judgments whatsoever. Fumi opened up to Kemi, told her about how she got an expensive BBL that almost left her bankrupt, just to entice men, and how she went on a Kayamata journey that brought her an infection, embarrassment, and a possessive woman beater as a boyfriend. By the time she was done with the story, she was already wiping tears from her eyes. Kemi reassured her, telling her her own story, how she started coaching women online about relationships and how she learned from her own heartbreak. I saw so many women stuck in cycles, chasing love that wasn't real, giving away their hearts for the wrong reasons. That's why I started my page, to help women find strength and to stop chasing what doesn't belong to them and start attracting what they deserve. Fumi felt a thing of hope. Thank you so much, Kemi. I needed this. I feel like I'm finally beginning to breathe again. I've even met a friend through this whole man madness. I will introduce her to you as well. Her name is Tolani. I'm sure she has seen her own fair share of shege. Kemi encouraged her to come with Tolani to her women empowerment program that was coming up. It's about reclaiming your power, breaking free from toxic patterns, and learning to attract the right kind of love, she told her. And just like that, over coffee and an honest conversation, a new chapter began for Fumi. One where she took back control of her story, with a friend by her side to guide her. When she got home that day, she broke up with Shegun, giving him a very stern warning not to call her ever again. Next, she texted Tolani about the meeting with Kemi and invited her to the outreach. At Kemi's outreach session, surrounded by women sharing stories of pain and power, Fumi and Tolani felt hope stir inside of them. Kemi's words rang clear. Love should never cage you. Freedom is the first step to true happiness. After the powerful session, Fumi, Tolani and Kemi decided to go somewhere quieter for a private discussion. As the three of them sat down, Fumi began by introducing Tolani to Kemi. In fact, she's the one that told me about the Kayamata. She's dealing with controlling men as well, jealousy, bad dreams, all of it. I thought I was alone, but hearing her story made me realize we are all struggling with one thing or the other. Kemi nodded and said, I'm so sorry you ladies had to go through all that. But here is the truth. When you rely on magic, on beads, on shortcuts to hold a man, you give away your power. She paused, letting the words sink in. Real attraction comes from your energy. When you focus on being your true self, your goals, your passions, your confidence, that energy becomes magnetic. It also means you have to set boundaries, saying no when something doesn't feel right, taking care of your mind and body, and most importantly, loving yourself first. You would see how you will start attracting real men to yourself. I know it's easier said than done, but it's a journey, not a sprint, and you are not alone. As Tolani and Fumi listened to their friend talk, they felt hopeful. They felt they could start again. They felt lighter than they had in weeks. Thank you, Kemi, for seeing us. Thank you so much. The weeks that followed that meeting were very positive. Tolani woke up feeling totally different, lighter, and more herself. She had burnt all the Kayamata products she had. She looked in the mirror, and for the first time in a long time, she thought, I am enough. I don't need any beads. I don't need any magic potions. I am just enough. It wasn't long before something surprising happened. Real men who didn't just want to spend, but wanted something more serious, started to notice her. One afternoon, Tolani was at a bookshop when a well-dressed man approached her with genuine curiosity. Excuse me, he said. I noticed you reading Becoming Yourself. Do you mind if I join the conversation? Tolani was pleasantly surprised. Sure, why not? They talked about everything from favorite authors to dreams to the future to everything good. And that was it. They connected so well on meaningful things, things that actually mattered. These were the kind of men Tolani wanted. Fumi, on her own part, met Samuel at an art gallery, and he was everything she ever wanted in a man. The three friends decided to start a podcast to empower young women to love themselves and not to be victims of pressure and kayamata. At first, it was just them, but a few listeners started joining in. They started writing to them, thanking them for sharing their stories and their struggles. Positive comments started flooding their social medias, and before you knew it, their podcast became more than just a show. It became a movement of real women lifting each other up and telling themselves they were enough, knowing their worth, and knowing that settling for less was never an option. And so, together, they proved that the journey to self love isn't about perfection, but it's about connection, courage, and the power of telling your truth and becoming your real self. Moral lessons. Magic shortcuts may promise quick fixes, but the real power comes from within. Self love, confidence, and the courage to be yourself. Try to surround yourself with those who celebrate your worth, not just your appearance and what you can give. And remember, the most important relationship we'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. Focus on you, build your value, and know your worth. Remember, never settle for less. Thank you so much for watching this story. I know you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed making it. Please subscribe to this channel and like this video. Also share it to your loved ones because they are going to learn a lot from it. Until next time, bye.